Stan's World. For all the people who've never been here before, welcome, and for all of you that's coming back, welcome back. It's a beautiful day. Well, the last video I made, we squared up this block of the milling machine. It was sawed from all 6 sides, or 3 or 4, I believe. Anyway, we got it all squared on the mill, which is probably good for anything, block you just do, it's probably square. It's square. But now we're going to square this block up on a grinder because we're going to consider this as a dissection. And before we can put holes or anything in this thing, we need to make sure this block is exactly square as possible, because it's going to have to be mounted on a die shoe with several other blocks, possibly hundreds, and everything has to be perfectly square. So I'm going to go through the processes of how to grind the block square. And let's get to it. Now, in grinding this block square, we'll be using a surface grinder, a manual surface grinder, Boyer Schultz 6x12. We have already dressed the wheel. The wheel is dressed. We're going to set that block up in a precision vise. Now, certain things you need when you're squaring up a block with a grinder. One thing, you need a surface plate. And you need I grind in a vise, okay? When I grind something, you can grind in a vise or you can grind on an angle plate. That vise right there is not a homemade vise, it's a purchased vise, and I have checked that vise with a cylindrical square, and it is square within 0.0001, 1/10 of an inch. So that's what I use to square up my blocks with. You're only going to square your block up as square as your angle plate is or your vise, and believe me, that is extremely square. Okay? I'm sure they make stuff more square, but that's extremely square for just an old sweatshop like I got. So we're going to do our first operation here, and we'll show you how to set that block up in that vise, and then we're going to grind one side. Now I'm going to glue this thing up. The only reason I'm going to glue it up is just so you can see how much it's out of square. Because you will see it, okay? It is out of square. And you will notice it on this grinder. It might look good on a square when you throw a square up on it. When you put it on that vise right there and lay it up in that grinder, it will not be the same ballgame. So what we're going to do first is put this thing in here just like this right here. A little bit of it hanging out on that side. Okay. And we will snug this up a little bit here, and we will grind the top side first. And we will go ahead and glue up this side here too. Because what we do, see, is we grind this, then we rotate the vise, grind that, and then those two sides are square. Then you just lay them down in the chuck, you grind them, and then they're parallel. Then you put it back in here, do the other side. So let's get started on this. Now I'm not going to show a videotape grinding this whole block. I'm just going to touch off and go a little ways across, and you'll get the idea. Alright, let's do it. Make sure you turn on your magnet. Make sure your wheel is dressed, which it is. I don't have a sucker hooked up yet. I wish I did, but I do have an open window and some fans running. I got a sucker, it's just not hooked up yet. I don't do a whole lot of grinding, so it's not a priority. Alright, let's get down here pretty close as we can. And we'll do our touch off. We ain't gonna take much. You know, a lot of these people nowadays, they forgot about the fine art of running a hand grinder. A hand grinder, you have no power feed and nothing. It's all strictly manual, which is the way I kind of prefer it grinding myself. I don't, like I said again, I don't do a lot of grinding, so and the reason I'm coming down real slow like this is because I want you to, if it is off a square, it'll show it. It may not be. I mean, hell, it may be very close off that mill. But I doubt it. And I hate to say it, the shit I'm usually right. Getting close. There we go. Now see, we only hit there on one side. One little side. See that? That's what I mean. It's pretty square. Probably a couple of tenths will take that out. Let's see. No, it took about 1,000, so it's about a thousandth out of square, and that's exactly what I figured it was. Now, I'm going to raise that up a little bit. We don't want to take that big of a cut. We're going to come all the way across. You can feed it every stroke, or you can go back and only feed it every other stroke. If I'm taking a big cut, I'll only feed every other stroke like that. But something like this right here, I go across pretty quick. Get on across here pretty quick. And then we'll go back, take off about a 1/2,000. Then we'll flip the vise and do the other side. And those two sides will be as square as that vise. And that vise is, as I said, extremely square. I usually use a cold air gun or a Mr. Coolant on here, but for the video I'm not going to create no mess. And that cold air gun uses a lot of air and it's noisy, but it does work good. You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about one of these right here. Cold air gun. They're a really good thing to have on a grinder or a mill. Okay, that's one side all the way, ground all the way across. There again, I'm not worried about no sizes because this block is strictly for video. This is not a customer's piece or nothing. You can go back across real fast if you want to. And since I took it down a little bit right here, I'm going to come back across again. Get it all the same, very lightly touch it, and we'll come all the way back across like that right there. Alright, let's do it. Okay, the next step is to flip this thing over and grind the other side. So what you want to do is take this thing off, Wipe it down good with a rag. Get all the dust off. And then the final wipe is always your hand. Always use your hand to wipe your chuck, wipe your vise, flip that thing over, put it back on. Now, one thing you're going to need when you're grinding, okay? One tool you need when you're grinding, and that is a good stone. You got to keep everything on this block. All these corners got to be stoned good after you grind them, and everything like that before you put it back on. So you don't want to file them. You want to use a stone. Keep everything stoned, your vise stoned, your chuck stoned, stone everything. Because you can scratch that thing up, and scratching it up, well, that'll mess it up. Alright, so let's grind this side. Let's get down here like we did the other side and see where we are. Put my rag up in my pocket here. Okay. If you got a good backlight, you can almost see. Sometimes you can just hold up a piece of white paper out here on the other side of the wheel, and you can get right down there on that damn thing. I mean, just right on it. Alright, I'm secured. The vise is locked. Let's start our downward trend. A little more, just getting there. Closer. Don't ever rush this process. And there again, I have forgot to mention safety. Okay? Never put your hands or rag or anything. Never work on a grinder with gloves on. Okay? Never use gloves on a grinder of any sort. A lot of people are, there we go, we touched. And this side looks to be pretty equal, actually. Looks like it's a little heavier on this side than this side. So it might be a little closer than the other one was, just a little bit. I'm not sure, but when we get this side squared up, then we will have two sides perfectly square with that vise. So let's grind this side. Let's take off about a half a thousandth. Alright. Yeah, half a thousandth, guys. Okay, y'all. Now we are going to flip the block in the vise. So we will do the other side. Okay. So we'll loosen our vise up here. Loosen our vise up. Take this block. Make sure this block is grounded at. Make sure it's really square, V-bird, all around. Make sure it's good and flat, no burrs. Stone it lightly, don't have to stone it hard, just stone it lightly. cleaning it up a little bit, that's all you're doing. Okay. Now we put that bad boy in there. Now we put it on the vise, on the machine. Set it down in the machine and grind it. The same thing on this side. Set it down in the machine and grind it. Then we come back to the vise. The next two surfaces will be back on the grinder. So let's do that. Swing right around here to the grinder. Alright. We're going to take this block and set our ground end down right in there. And that surface will be parallel with that surface. And then we will grind that. We ain't gonna wait to see if it's out of square on this one because it might be not perfectly flat, but it's gonna be square. So let's just go ahead and grind it. Again, safety, check, make sure it's on there. If that was any thinner, you'd want to scotch that in and block it up. But it's got a lot of surface on the magnet. And just remember when you're grinding is very dangerous. I've seen a lot of people get hurt grinding in my years in the shop. Personally, I have not been one of those people. Luckily, I have nicked my finger one time on the grinder wheel where it took a couple of stitches, but it wasn't too awful bad. So we're going to go all the way across this side, just like this right here. Nice and slow. About 10,000 speed every stroke. All the way across. Nice and easy. And then we will grind the other side. That's what it turned out to be like. Looks pretty good. Now we will flip the part over and grind on the other end. Oh, something wasn't right. Now we got more light. Not much dust on there. Stone it. Now, after this grind, we go back in the vise. Okay? Now, that was a little out of square too there. Because this is machine side. Yeah. Alright, now we'll go all the way across to that. We'll go all the way across like that. Back to the vise. Now then, like I said, we got this square with this square with this. All these sides are square. But this side's still not. So what we got to do, I'm using our jaws in my vise, open the vise on up here. that square side up against square side. Square side of your bottom, and then let that hang out a little bit like that. Push that there. And then you lock her down. You really lock it down. This will be your final use of the vise. Now we'll put this back in the mill. I mean back in the grinder. I'm a dummy. Alright, you see what we did there. Got it sticking out just a little bit there. And grind that surface right there. Next. Okay. Over here. Dust off my vise. Bring my wheel all the way back across. If I had been doing a lot of grinding or having to take off 4 or 5 thousandths off of this part on every side, I would probably have already had to dress my wheel again. But since I hadn't taken but a few thousandths off each side, my wheel hasn't really broken down any. So, you see where we're at here. This side's probably going to be off a little bit too, so we'll check it out and see. We are going to grind that surface now. Okay. Raise the wheel. Probably going to take off a little more. It's probably going to be worse if it comes across this way. This may be the side that's the worst out of square, since this is the side with the most surface on it. Alright, man, that breeze is coming through that window. It sure feels good. You know, back in the days when I was in my 20s and 30s, when I was working in the job shop, I'd have a little buggy next to me, and I'd have that buggy loaded down with blocks. Some of them be D2, some of them be A2, some of them be cold roll, some of them be 4140. And every one of them blocks would be ground square. And hell, there might be 50 of them there, you know. I'd grind for weeks. Can you imagine weeks for 10 to 12 hours a day doing what I'm doing right now? Let me tell you what, buddy. People nowadays don't know how hard a tool die maker works. Okay? You don't have a friggin' clue. It's not only a mentally challenging job, and you have to be smart and know math and trig and all kind of stuff, but it's also a physically demanding job. You know, that worked out pretty good. This one little spot here that didn't quite clean up, but I'm not going to worry about that. That doesn't affect the overall flatness of the block. So we're going to, you can see that looks pretty good. So now we got to flip the block, take the block out of the vise, and lay the part right down on the machine. So let's just do that right here. We are done with the vise. Just remember, your block is only as square as your vise. or your angle plate that you use. You can do the same thing on an angle plate, okay? It's just that when you use an angle plate, you got to use a C-clamp and all that kind of stuff, and I find it much easier to do it in a vise. So let's lay that down like that right there. Let's feel right, let's strong it. Had a little burr on it there. Had a little burr on it. Cleanliness is very important when you're grinding. Everything's got to be clean. If you're going to make a mess, it's going to be dust every damn where. That vise has got to stay clean. And if you're running a wig grinder or something like that, it's even worse. You know? Alright, so we're ready to grind the final side, and then that block of metal will be completely ground square. Hopefully. I do not have a cylindrical square because they are extremely expensive and I don't really have a need for it. But that's the only way you can properly check a block to see if it's square is with a cylindrical square. Okay. Well, I mean, you can check with a $200,000 CMM machine, yeah. But I'm talking about us old-fashioned guys. And just a regular square, you know, it's not going to really tell you anything. There's that side. And all we got to do is go all the way across, like that right there. And that block is square. Alright, let's keep on grinding. Well, there she be. Ground on all 6 sides. Ground square within 1/10 of an inch. 0.00001. Or as square as that vise was. Now this block is ready to go back in the milling machine for holes, pockets, taps, whatever you got to do. I'm considering this as a die block. Die block's got to be square. Well, everything's got to be square. But if you want it square, you got to grind it. And that's what I just did. And there again, it's only as square as your vise or angle plate. Hope you got something out of this video. It's a wonderful day. It's Friday afternoon. Stay home. Stay out of the traffic. God bless. And don't forget to subscribe and like and comment. I mean, if you think I'm a fool, tell me. I love it, you know. Y'all have a wonderful week. See you next time.